He predicted the future, he built an empire, and in his final moments, he made a declaration that has stunned millions. Scott Adams, the controversial creator of the Dilbert comic strip, has died at age 68 after a battle with cancer. His final public statement, posted just hours before his passing, was a simple, profound sentence: "I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior." This isn't just the death of a cartoonist. This is the dramatic, polarizing end of a cultural lightning rod, and the reaction is tearing the internet apart. Stay with us. To understand the magnitude of this moment, you have to understand who Scott Adams was and the incredible journey that led here. Adams wasn't just a cartoonist, he was a phenomenon. Dilbert, launched in 1989, became the definitive voice of corporate absurdity. At its peak, it ran in over 2,000 newspapers worldwide. It spawned books, an animated TV series, and turned Adams into a multimillionaire and a guru of business satire. He gave a name to the soul-crushing experience of the modern office cubicle. For decades, he was the witty, cynical observer of management incompetence. But the story takes a sharp turn. In recent years, Adams transformed from a beloved humorist into one of the internet's most divisive figures. He launched a successful podcast where he blended business advice with sharp political and social commentary, often venturing into controversial territory. He became a vocal supporter of certain political figures and movements, making bold, often inflammatory predictions about society and culture. This shift alienated many newspapers and longtime fans, leading to a massive cancellation of Dilbert by syndicates and publishers in early 2023 after he made comments widely condemned as racist. His empire fractured. His public image became bifurcated: to some, a brave truth-teller; to others, a purveyor of hate. This is the complex, fraught backdrop against which his final act played out: a man who spent years deconstructing systems of belief, ending his life by affirming one of the most foundational beliefs in human history. Now, to the breaking news. According to statements from his family and his management team, Scott Adams passed away early this morning at his home. The cause was complications from a recently diagnosed, aggressive form of cancer. The details are still emerging, but sources close to the family indicate his decline was rapid. The news itself is significant, but it is the final message he chose to leave that has ignited a global firestorm. On his verified social media account, a post timestamped late last night simply read, "I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Scott Adams." That's it. No context, no lengthy explanation, no signature Dilbert cynicism. Just a stark, unambiguous declaration of Christian faith from a man who built his brand on skeptical, systems-based thinking. The post has already been shared over 500,000 times and has sparked millions of comments. Official responses are pouring in, and they are starkly divided. His ex-wife and longtime business partner released a brief, respectful statement confirming his passing and asking for privacy for the family. Several former colleagues from the cartooning world have expressed condolences, focusing on his immense impact on the industry during his early career. However, the political and media figures he aligned with in recent years have been notably more vocal. Many have posted lengthy tributes, framing his final statement as a powerful redemption arc and a testament to his search for truth. One prominent commentator called it the most important prediction Scott Adams ever made. Conversely, media outlets and public figures who had condemned his earlier remarks have reported the news factually, but with minimal commentary on his legacy, focusing instead on the factual circumstances of his death. The Dilbert website currently displays a single, static image of the character Dilbert, with the years 1957-2024 beneath it. It is a quiet, somber digital tombstone for a franchise that once dominated the comics page. The perspectives on this are not just divided, they are diametrically opposed, revealing the deep cultural chasms of our time. Let's analyze the implications. From one perspective, held by many of his supporters and some Christian commentators, this is a classic deathbed conversion narrative of the highest order. They see a brilliant, rational mind, having deconstructed the world's flaws, ultimately finding solace in a foundational truth. They point to his past discussions about persuasion and human psychology, suggesting his final statement was the ultimate persuasion move, a deliberate, powerful signal. For them, it validates a journey from skepticism to faith, and they are sharing the post as an evangelistic tool. The analysis here is spiritual. It's about the victory of grace, even for the most unlikely of figures. From the opposing perspective, held by many of his critics and secular commentators, the reaction is one of deep skepticism and psychological analysis. They question the timing and authenticity, suggesting it could be a final act of trolling, a manipulation from a master persuader, or perhaps a statement made under the duress of fear and medication. They analyze his lifelong pattern of contrarianism, wondering if this was the ultimate contrarian act. Others express a more nuanced sadness, hoping he found genuine peace, but separating that from a rehabilitation of his recent controversial public stances. The analysis here is strategic and psychological. What was the intent behind the message? Internationally, the reaction is muted but curious. In regions where Dilbert was once a staple in business sections, the news is reported as the passing of an influential cartoonist. The religious aspect is noted but not sensationalized. In global financial and tech circles, where Adams had a cult following for his predictions, the discussion is more about the loss of a unique analytical mind. The deeper cultural war ignited by his statement is largely an American phenomenon, highlighting how Adams, in death as in life, has become a Rorschach test for the viewer's own beliefs and biases. So, how does this affect ordinary people? The impact is both tangible and philosophical. First, for the millions who grew up with Dilbert taped to their office cubicle, this is the end of an era. That shared cultural touchstone of workplace misery now has a final, somber chapter. The comic strip's future is in immediate jeopardy. With most syndication deals long severed and Adams as the sole creative engine, Dilbert likely dies with him. This affects the few remaining newspapers that carried it and the licensing deals for merchandise, creating small but real economic ripples. Second, it forces an uncomfortable public conversation about legacy, forgiveness, and redemption. For families dealing with a loved one who held divisive views, Adams's story becomes a painful case study. Do final words rewrite a life's narrative? This debate is playing out in real time on social media, in living rooms, and in churches. It's impacting ordinary people by making them question their own capacity for reconciliation and how they judge others at their endpoint. Politically, his passing removes a vocal, data-driven voice from a specific media ecosystem. His podcast and predictions had a dedicated audience that influenced their worldview. Who fills that vacuum? Furthermore, his final statement is being weaponized in the ongoing culture wars. It is being used as a cudgel by some to challenge secularists and as an example of hypocrisy by others. For the average person trying to navigate polarized discourse, this event adds another layer of noise and conflict, making nuanced conversation even harder. What happens next? Expect a battle over his intellectual property. Expect documentaries and biographies that will either canonize or vilify him. And expect that simple, one-sentence post to be analyzed, debated, and fought over for years to come. It has already become a permanent part of his Wikipedia entry, the first line of his obituary for many. What are the experts saying? We've gathered insights across fields. A professor of religious studies at a major university told us, deathbed conversions are a trope in Western culture for a reason. They speak to our deepest anxieties about mortality and justice. Whether one views it as genuine or not, Adams's statement taps directly into that powerful narrative archetype. Its power lies less in its truth and more in its timeless story structure. A media analyst specializing in internet culture stated, "This is a masterclass in controlling the narrative from beyond the grave." Regardless of his personal faith, Adams understood branding and persuasion. This single sentence has completely reframed the global conversation about his death. It's shifted the focus from his controversies to a metaphysical debate. That's an incredibly powerful final act in the attention economy. A veteran comic strip historian offered this. The history of comics is filled with tragic ends, but rarely one so publicly and philosophically charged. We may never see another cartoonist wield this much cultural influence, for both comedy and controversy, again. His career marks the end of the newspaper cartoonist as a mainstream cultural kingmaker and the birth of the independent, podcasting media personality. Comparisons are being drawn to other controversial figures who had late-life spiritual turns, but analysts agree Adams's case is unique because of his very public, decade-long cultivation of a hyper-rational, model-based persona. The dissonance between that persona and his final statement is what creates the seismic shockwave. The key takeaway? Scott Adams's life was complex. His death is proving even more so. He made us laugh at the office, then he made us argue about society. Now, with one sentence, he has made millions confront questions of faith, legacy, and final judgment. Watch for the battle over his estate. Watch for how history books will summarize this chapter. And watch how this single statement continues to reverberate through our already divided culture. This is a story with no easy punchline. Subscribe to Kenya News Update today for more breaking news.